Hey guys, happy day, whatever day you happen to be catching this. I was feeling like I wanted to share some thoughts today, some thoughts that have been pressing on me this week, and I wonder if it might be pressing on you too, similar ideas. I think that happens a lot in society is when we have a running theme in our life, it tends to be a running theme in the lives of the people around us. So welcome to my video. I'm going to talk today about trauma and forgiveness. So the reason this has come up in my mind, I don't know about your trauma and your forgiveness in your life situation, but for me, I find that sometimes trauma and forgiveness and the need to forgive comes up in a cyclical fashion. So I have a really good memory, as you might or might not, and I tend to remember trauma based on the time of year. So if you're someone, say that perhaps you've experienced grief and someone that you love passed away at a certain time of year, there might be trauma or really difficult memories surrounding that time of year. And so as you come on the anniversary of that time of year, you might remember the pain and the struggle, not just in losing someone you love, but maybe issues surrounding like an estate closing or interactions with family and trying to grieve and mourn. And so this happens to us as humans. And so for me, I was remembering something that had happened about this time of year for me in years past. And as I was contemplating my feelings, I was feeling the need to forgive. And forgiveness isn't always an easy thing. And the lack of forgiveness can cause a lot of heaviness. It can actually cause sickness, pain, and chronic long-term disease. I am a big believer in that. I observe it to be true for me. I observe it to be true for some of my clients, people around me that I observe their life. And I like to observe patterns in life. And so when I see a pattern and I can make some sense out of it, I think it's worth sharing for the good of others. And so anyway, I noticed a pattern for me and I noticed a need to forgive. And I felt like as I was noticing this pattern for me, I noticed that a certain spot of my energy, or not my energy, my body, was holding what I observed to be like a tingly energy. And there are books written on these subjects, and I don't think that the books, they're wonderful, but I don't think they're always conclusive for every situation or that there's some sort of decoder. They can help and assist. But for me, I was feeling energy on the lower half of my body. And I contemplated why this energy was here and what the relationship is to the body. So a lot of people that come to me have digestive issues. And the biggest thing with the digestive system, what it represents emotionally, the colon, specifically for people, a lot of Americans are chronically constipated or they deal with chronic diarrhea. And both of those issues, we can look at them physically and say, oh, nutritionally, they're not eating good foods or they're not getting enough hydration. But the colon represents not letting things go in a healthy fashion. And emotionally, we can look at what the colon represents. That's the lower half of the body. Another piece of that could be the liver. The liver is a filtering organ and it helps filter out good and bad things, and then our body absorbs nutrients. And so if the liver is afflicted, there might be pain in the actual liver, but emotionally, what is happening in the liver is that it's having a hard time with perhaps bitterness. Same thing with the gallbladder. The gallbladder filters out and processes the bitters, which we are severely lacking in American diet. And so these organs deal with bitterness. And there's a lot of people who struggle with bitterness and unforgiveness. And so what I want to talk to you about today is just share a tip. When dealing with trauma and bitterness and unforgiveness, one thing you could do is observe as you're thinking about that emotion, observe where you feel sensations in your body. And maybe your body is telling you before your mind is telling you you need to deal with an emotion. Maybe your mind is like, oh, my stomach hurts. Well, why does your stomach hurt? And consider what the emotional situation was when your stomach began to hurt and begin to ask questions about this. And so from there, what I like to do is when I can examine what those emotions are, I might write them down. And then I might say, okay, let's play a game of pretend. And this is some of the things we do in an IPT session. I'm contemplating renaming it into something easier for people because IPT stands for Integrated Processing Technique. And That doesn't make a lot of sense, but I like to refer to it as a shapes and colors session. So with shapes and colors, what we do is we activate or we talk to the right brain. The left brain is the part of the brain that holds a lot of the emotion connected with bitterness and unforgiveness. So the left brain might be thinking, that person did me wrong, and that situation was awful, and that thing that happened caused me a lot of pain, and now I'm feeling pain in my liver or my gallbladder or my colon or my stomach, and I can't seem to let it go, and now I have a stomach ache. And so when you focus on that and you could think, okay, let's let the left side of the brain rest, and let's look at the right side of the brain, which is considered the part of the brain that deals with creativity and emotions. And I think of the right side of the brain as the color side and a lot of the emotion. So the left brain is more the mind and the right brain is more emotion. That's how I categorize it. And a lot of social scientists view it that way too. And so when we look at the right side of the brain and we say, okay, let's give the right side a chance to speak and express its emotions, what I like to do in a cognitive fashion is to envision where the pain is being stored physically. And then I imagine, like, what if that part of the body is holding, let's pretend, a color. And if it were holding a color, what would the color be? And if it were holding a shape, that color, the energy of that color, if it were holding a shape, what would that be? And if I wanted to remove that shape or that color from my body to help in letting go of this anger or this bitterness or this unforgiveness, what would that look like? Would it come out the front? Would it come out the top? Would it come out the side? A lot of what we deal with in life, I heard of one therapist friend of mine said, emotion is energy in motion. And emotion is meant to be in motion. And when we hold on to energy without letting it be mobile and passing through the body, that's when we have disease that begins to form. I've explained this before in videos past, and maybe I should do some more discussion about this, but basically when we hold on to anger, it literally can become tangible tension in the body. We can have tension headaches, we can have migraines, we can have all kinds of cascading things that happen when we hold tension in the head or in the stomach, or some people hold it in their glutes or in their nervous system. And so with using this idea of allowing the right brain to speak and bringing out this concept of pretending with shapes and colors, we can begin to move some of this emotion. We don't have to have the perpetrator in front of us or the guilty party that's responsible for our frustration. We can just simply do the work of imagining that we are moving that stored energy out of the body. There's so many ways that you can do this. You can do this with mentally. You could do this with body work. That's why sometimes people end up crying on the table, because we're moving some of that stuck energy tangibly. That's why some people love to run or to weightlift. They're moving that energy through the body, processing it through without holding it in retention. And there's other people that use medication to move the energy, or they use herbs or essential oils. And thankfully, we have a myriad of tools that we can use. But my invitation today is to use the tools, whether it be a medication, whether it be a psychotherapist, or whether it be weightlifting or exercise or swimming or hiking or coming to me for therapy. My invitation is to do the work and work on forgiveness, because forgiveness held in the body is atrocious. It leads to atrocious effects, and it's just not good. And one of the fastest things we can do in alleviating sickness in the body is letting go of bitterness and unforgiveness. So if you need help with this, please reach out. I'd love to chat with you, whether it be in a discovery call or a session. Specifically, I do this with integrated processing technique sessions, or IPT. It's hands-off work. It's a patient work, and it sometimes can take more than one session. It's a lot like, I visualize it like an onion, where you peel off a layer of an onion and you might be surprised to find something underneath that layer. Like sometimes if you buy an organic onion, sometimes you get mold under there. Whoops, we got to clean that off. We peel off layer by layer. Sometimes the healing can be dramatic and swift, and sometimes it takes time. We are living beings, and living beings experience life. And so sometimes there's additional triggers that happen as we continue to associate with people who trigger us. And other times we find great refreshment just in supernatural healing. So I encourage you to do the work. If you have any questions, leave me a comment. Feel free to reach out. Happy to help. And if what I offer isn't for you, I'm happy to point you in another direction. It's not for everybody, but it's okay. I found it tremendously helpful for me in my health journey to begin to process my bitterness or unforgiveness. And I honestly feel like it has helped me be a lighter person. I don't feel so heavy. And life is a journey. So I'm not perfect, but I really do have a lot of confidence that when we do the work, we can find healing. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them down below. And I hope you have a wonderful and a blessed day.